Hi, this is the Sleuth Investor channel, but in these days of Corona, when we must stay indoors, we can't do sleuthing, which is looking for physical evidence in person. So I found it useful to pass along information that would help you stay healthy so that one day when we can all leave the house and go sleuthing, you can come back and sleuth another day. After my brief clip about the need for vitamins and the need to avoid sugar and carbs, I received a few private questions about why sugar and carbs are so harmful for your immune system. Now remember, I'm not a doctor, nor a nutritionist, but as I said, when I ran a hedge fund, as a scientist, I learned how to read research reports of biotech companies and see quickly which have been done well, which have been done shoddily, which are suspect because of source of funding, and which factors really are key, and to explain them in simple language. I also found that to learn how body mechanisms work is usually not really rocket science. So here, in as simple words as I can, is a brief description of how I see why sugar is very harmful to you, as are carbs, both in normal times, but especially now in the days of Corona. First, the bottom line. When your body is young, it can fight infection easily. That's why babies can get half a dozen inoculations, known today as vaccinations, without a problem, because their bodies have all the immunity ammo they need. The way the body fights a virus, I'm simplifying greatly here, remember, is not directly. Unlike microbes, viruses are usually immune to direct attack, but they can be attacked via the body cell that they have infested and now call home. Your white blood cells, the policemen of the body, first fix on one of those and they eat it. Then they take pieces of it as a target and glues it on its own skin as signals of what kind of cells the virus is hiding in. Very clever. But then, more clever still, the white cell then replicates itself with pieces of the infected cell, and these copies are called cytokines. Remember the name, cytokines. And these are the body's warriors, now targeting the virus-infected cells with the little pieces of skin to show which one they should target. The cytokines then launch themselves at such infected cells and eat them up, causing what is called apoptosis, or cell death. For example, what kind of cytokine is TNF, tumor necrotic factor, that is, cancer killing factor? It hunts cancer cells when they are still babies and kills them, if you let them do their job, by not eating sugar and carbs that slow down the virus killers and cancer killers. Now, when you are young, your cytokines can do this easily because they are fresh and able, which is why babies and children only rarely suffer from corona, even when they are infected by it. Yes, they can transmit it to others, and they do, but they themselves rarely suffer. When your body grows old, however, your cytokines deteriorate, although not always very fast, unless you eat carbs and sugar. Then your cytokine becomes sluggish, and worse still, they have to travel through sugar-laden, water-clogged cells, and so they arrive very late to the virus-infested cells, which in the meantime have had time to multiply. That's why sugar-eating people, humans with a sweet tooth, have weaker, more sluggish cytokines. So when they get corona, and doctors give them some HIV medication to wake up their body's immune system, this often risks the body creating too many cytokines, and these attack even healthy part of the body, what doctor calls a cytokine storm. This can be deadly. Even without corona, indulging in sugar and carbs can cause many cytokine storms that cause your body to gobble healthy part of itself. This can cause arthritis, lupus, inflammatory bowel, cancer, psoriasis, even depressions. That's when the body's infection fighters are out of control and begin to fight the body itself. How to regulate the cytokines? The body usually brings in ketones, which is what the body produces when you are on a ketogenic diet. No carbs, no sugar. But we are not concerned here with all these other effects of messenger cytokines. We are concerned about corona. When corona strikes, you risk a deadly outcome if your doctor tries to wake up your weak cytokines after a lifetime of sweet tooth indulgence and candy eating or just sugar eating. What if you just eat bread and bagel and such? Not much difference, I'm afraid. Your body will turn them into sugar by secreting insulin. So over time, your body becomes insensitive to the insulin, and that's when you become diabetic. A diabetic infected with corona has a risk of death multiplied manifold. Final bottom line. If you eat sugar and carbs, you are making yourself far more vulnerable to virus infection than you need be, and once if infected, your risk of dying is far higher. This was proven again in the Yale study, where mice that ate keto diet survived pneumonia well, while junk food eating mice did not. Perhaps just as critical, sugars and carbs make you obese, and over time give you heart disease and diabetes, and most likely also contribute to Alzheimer's. Indeed, some doctors call Alzheimer's diabetes type 3. Now, why all this is important? Because, listen up, 80% of all corona deaths are caused not by the corona itself, from which quite a number of infected people recover, but from the comorbidity factors, those other things that cause the body to die. Diabetes, heart disease, the high blood pressure, all of which are caused by carb-loaded diet. Even in normal times, binging on carb and sugar is foolish. You risk getting diabetes, then having to inject insulin so to be able to digest one more bagel or one more Danish. If you do have diabetes, get rid of it as fast as you can. It is a major risk factor in life and especially in corona. How to do this? There are two ways. One is to starve yourself on 800 calories a day. It is almost inhuman to do so, but it can be done and have been done. In 6 months, you are likely to keep the diabetes. But there's another way. Drop carbs and sugar. Then you can eat nearly as much as you want. No carbs, no sugar, but everything else is okay. You'll get the same effect. You're very likely to drop your diabetes. Now, this is not to be done lightly. And remember, I'm not a doctor. You should talk to your doctor about it. You may have to supplement your food with vitamins under keto, drink more, have more fibers, and so on. But in general, after 1 or 2 weeks of missing wheat carbs, you will be fine. But then, once you go keto completely and corona strikes, just like the mice in the study I spoke of, who were given pneumonia, you are likely to get off lightly, since your cytokines could do their job without having to slog through a clogging mud of sugar-infused cells. What can you eat, though, you may ask, without carbs? Why? Fat, protein, some veg carbs, anything else which is not carbs. But you may say, isn't fat risky? You probably have read someplace that cholesterol is the cause of heart attacks and heart disease. The short to answer are it's not, and most probably not. Remember again, I am not a doctor, so the above are only my opinions, based on research that I have studied and read and checked about. But many doctors today saying the same thing. Check it out. It's not the cholesterol which is the villain here, but the oxidized cholesterol. And it is oxidized by insulin, which the body secretes to deal with sugar and carbs. In sum, in my view, you should drop carbs, drop sugar, get rid of diabetes if you have it, get your heart working better, of course stay fit, get rid of most of your inflammation thereby, and if corona unfortunately strikes, you'll likely be in a much better shape to deal with it, just like children can. They hardly feel it. Do that and you likely maximize your chance of survival. Indeed, for value investors, this should be a natural argument. Before you maximize the upside in investment, you want to minimize your downside risk, don't you? And by dropping carbs and sugar, your risk of corona is then very likely minimized. Besides, what have you got to lose? At the very least, if you go keto, you'll drop excess pounds and fast as your cells, depleted of sugar, let go water, and you become trimmer and better looking by the week. Let me know what you think of all this in a comment below. And if you like it, give it a like, subscribe, and tell about it to your friends so they can subscribe too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.